Hello, my beautiful PhD friends. So today we're going to talk about the supervisor issues that I've witnessed and how you can solve them. If you're new to this channel, please remember to subscribe and hit that bell notification because I'm going to talk about everything PhD related and share all of the insider tips and tricks for making your PhD work for you. Supervisors. You can't live with them, you can't live without them. Now, the one thing I want to talk about is this disclaimer for this video. Now, I am going to be making huge stereotype comments and recommendations about specific supervisor kind of characteristics. Now, I have got to say that I have witnessed some amazing things and some terrible things. And I'm not trying to paint all supervisors as these kind of demons in the lab, but they do exist. And because this video is about supervisor problems, I will be talking about all of the worst things that I've seen and how to solve it. But that's not to say there aren't some absolute champions out there, and I thank you for supporting your PhD students. But I've also seen the complete other side. And I don't mean to conflate those two types of supervisors because there are amazing ones, and you just have to make sure you choose the right type of supervisor to suit the way you want to be supervised. Supervisors are meant to be there to support you through your PhD, but it doesn't always go like that. And that's because supervisors have so much on their plate. Like when I was talking to supervisors for my TEDx talk, they were just like, we work within quite a complicated and competitive academic system within a university. So, they get promoted based on bringing in money, bringing in students, bringing in, different types of grants and also papers, publishing papers. So all of these things mean that they work in this really weird, complex environment. And also supervision is only a very small part of their overall job. And it can be that supervisors, they're promoted because they're good at other things, not managing students, not being a leader. They just happen to do that as part of their diverse academic role. And so, yes, I am going to talk about the worst components here, and it's unfortunate that these people do exist, but yes, they're not all bad, and there's some amazing PhD supervisors. Let me know in the comments if yours is amazing. So in this video, I've got kind of three levels. I've got unacceptable things that should never happen. I've got kind of like a poor leader, poor communicator level, and then I've got just a personality clash. And we'll talk about those three levels throughout this video. But one thing I would say is that academia has been said to promote the worst the worst people. It kind of rewards the worst behavior. It rewards you being hyper competitive. It rewards you being very kind of like isolationist and keeping the money to yourself and keeping your secrets to yourself, because that's ultimately what gets academic kudos. And the problem is the people that are willing to use slightly unethical behaviors to get the success in the academic world are promoted. So at the top level, arguably, there are a load of different kind of personalities, but it could be that those people at the top have been promoted because of their unethical behavior, and therefore they're just not good supervisors, but they're great academics. And that's the thing about this kind of supervisor issue, is that they are people, they're multifaceted, they're all over kind of academia and all other parts of their life. But as an academic, they may be awesome, but as a person, they may suck. And that's also okay. I've heard it a lot, like, well, this man was brilliant. He's brilliant. He's just an asshole. He's brilliant, but he's also an asshole. Like, you can be both things in this world. And you want to make sure that not only do you get a supervisor that's brilliant academically, but you want to make sure that you don't end up working for an asshole. And that's just part of the academic lottery, I guess. So the first thing I want to talk about is completely unacceptable behaviors. Unacceptable behaviors include anything that you would not put up with in a workplace. If it's not suitable in a workplace, it is not suitable in a PhD supervisor relationship. And that includes things like bullying. Bullying is never acceptable, no matter how amazing you are as an academic. If you bully your students to get them to do their best work, you have failed as a leader. And unfortunately, I've seen this all too often. There was a famous case in Adelaide with Alan Cooper, who was renowned. Like, he was a nice guy. I met him a load of times. He was a lovely guy, but he bullied his students, and that's now coming out. And he also sort of lied on some grant applications. And, it's this unethical behavior which can get you kudos. It can kind of can catalyze your ascent to the academic ranks in the ivory tower. So it's it does happen, but it is completely unacceptable. Things like inappropriate behavior and conduct towards PhD students, because remember, there is a power sort of issue here where you have supervisors who are powerful within their own little constructs, and the PhD supervisor students who are coming up under their kind of tutelage and their kind of guidance and mentorship. But if they are acting inappropriately to anyone, male, female, domestic students, international students, that is not acceptable, and you need to escalate that and get out of that relationship as soon as possible. That is just not cool in any respect. And also threats. I actually had a threat on my job because I remember once going into a meeting, and my supervisor said, "Get me that result or else." And I was like, "Well, or else what?" He said, "Or else your job." It was something about me being fired. And I was like, "What? What on earth are you doing?" First of all, no, that's not how this works. Secondly, like, I can do the experiment, but I can't get you that result. That's not how science works. And so that was completely unacceptable. And if you're confident, and I kind of like feel like I can call people out, I just said to him, I was like, "This meeting is over. You do not speak to me like that. I am an employee. I am not someone that you can boss around or threaten like that. You cannot take away my job like that." At least in Australia. I don't know what the employment rules are like in other places. And he never apologized, but the way he used to apologize was by practicing golf outside my office door while talking to me and then being really nice. So he did that, which was, I guess, his way of apologizing. But bullying, any inappropriate behavior, and threats should be escalated immediately to the dean of the school. Now, the thing about escalating it is that these people, I think they're friends as well. And so you do have to still be a little bit careful about approaching their boss, because their boss may collaborate with them, or their boss may be friendly with them or play golf with them or whatever it is. So yes, you do have to be very careful still, but go armed with facts, go armed with evidence, and this person should be punished, or at least pulled up on their inappropriate behavior. So yes, do that. The second type of supervisor problem is a poor leader or a poor communicator. Now, I'm coming from the STEM field, and scientists aren't known stereotypically as people that are good communicators, as people that are good leaders. Now, I have had great leaders. Absolutely, my last role was amazing. It was free, it was open, it was I was guided, I was supported to reach my own goals. But that's not always the case. And it's because academics are promoted because they're great at bringing in the university money, they're great at bringing in the university grants, they're great at bringing in the university papers, and none of it really, they're not promoted based on how good of a supervisor they are, which means that these poor communicators, these poor persons, anyway, they just are not very good communicators. They're poor leaders. And so sometimes this isn't their fault, like they're just people, they're flawed. But I've got these kind of things that you should do. The first one is tell them how they can support you. Like literally sit down with them and be like, I would like to have a meeting every 2 weeks. And we will talk about this, this, this. And what you're doing is taking control away from, you're taking control, you're not taking it away from them, but you're just putting some structure into that relationship, which is so important. So tell them how they can support you. A good leader does not lead from the front, they lead from behind, all of those normal sayings, and they should be there to encourage, support, and allow you to reach your goals, which in a PhD is ultimately to get that thesis out, get those papers published, and become a doctor and an academic in your own right. So that is part of the process, and if they're not doing that off their own back, you can cultivate that yourself. Go in with, I would like meetings a certain amount of time. I need you to get me back this feedback on my writing or my paper or my poster within 2 days. We'll sit down, I'll arrange a meeting. You take over that role and be very explicit on how they can support you. In the comments, I've been seeing that some supervisors are completely hands off, like even in the early days, once a month. And that is really just not the ideal situation. In the early days, you want at least fortnightly meetings, if not weekly meetings with your supervisor to talk about your process and talk about your how you're progressing through the early stages of a PhD, because if you get the foundation parts wrong, it can very easily delay you in the later years because you're playing catch up with all the mistakes you made in the first year. So you should really try to take control of that situation and let them know how you can be supported. I've seen a range of different supervisors, all the way from micromanagers to missing in action supervisors. And really, I don't know if each supervisor has a style, and as part of your kind of PhD selection for yourself, you should look at the supervisor and you should see what kind of supervisor style they have. It could be that you're a very motivated person, you know what you want, and you're willing to go out and get it, and therefore you're okay with a hands-off supervisor. Or you could be a person that enjoys the daily sort of contact and being told what to do and being very sure and certain that you're heading in the right direction through a bit of micromanaging, and that's absolutely fine. And so finding a good match for the way you want to be supervised is very important. But communication is so fundamental to a good student and PhD supervisor relationship, back and forth all the time, letting them know if things don't work for you. These people, they're just people. They may have got to a certain level in academia, but they are just people. So always be talking with them. And if you're finding that there's a certain part of your relationship that isn't quite right with this person, you can seek mentorship. Getting a couple of mentors on, which are outside of your academic field, which are in your academic field, like wherever you need that support, seek out mentors. And I know some universities have mentorship programs, but also there will be some supervisors, some academics in your university that have got lovely reviews. People just know they're a nice person, and there's no reason why you can't approach those people and ask for them to support you in a certain way, so you can fill the gaps that you're missing with your current supervisor with a mentor. And I've done that in the past, and it's been a fantastic experience. I met up with my mentor once a month. I just sort of was able to unload on them. They gave me some advice, and we went from there. But it was a really great experience. And if your supervisor is a poor leader or poor communicator, that is a fantastic option for you. And the third thing that I want to talk about is the personality clash. Now, this means that they're not a bad person. They're probably a good leader, but maybe you just don't get on. And I saw a relationship in one of my positions where we got on initially first, but then something changed and I didn't really understand where it went. And we ended up just not getting on personally. And so this doesn't mean this person wasn't an incredible academic and an incredible leader. And they got me back my thesis drafts within 2 days every time. That's almost unheard of in the academic world. I know of people that hand in their thesis draft and it's like a week later, 2 weeks, a month later, and they're still checking it up. But 2 days every single time was incredible. But we had a bit of a personality clash, and there's not much you can do about that other than start approaching that relationship very professionally. Like, you don't have to like your supervisor, but you can respect them as an academic. And I think that's where I ended up at the end of that was, saying, okay, we're not friends, and that's okay. You don't have to be friends with your supervisor. They just have to be nice and respectful, and you have to be nice and respectful too. So that's where I think you need to end up, is start just going in, being prepared, being professional, and not expecting too much from that relationship other than the mentorship and the guidance as a supervisor. Another thing that's really important if you have a personality clash with your primary supervisor is seeking out co-supervisors, or like I said before, mentors. Co-supervisors are better in this instance just because what happens is when you have a meeting, everyone comes together. And it just means that, any potential personality issues can be sort of mitigated with having that extra person on the supervisor panel. And that just means that, everything, it remains academically focused, and there's an extra person in the room. And to that as well, if you do have personality clashes, there is no reason why, if you have meetings, you can't invite other people in. It's weird that academics meet up one-on-one in their office or whatever, and if you find that weird and you find like it's just not working, there's no reason you can't formalize that a little bit more by going to a meeting room, inviting other people in. That's so very important. But supervisors can just change and evolve over the course of your PhD, and also it can be any combination of the above, and it is a very challenging environment for a PhD student because alongside all of the supervisor issues, you've got to do a bloody thesis. So there we have it. There are the 3 levels of PhD supervisor issues that I think I've seen a lot of, and that a lot of other problems kind of fall under. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Let me know if you've got any advice for new PhD students. If you've had any issues, I'd be really interested to know all of that. It's a very complicated environment, the academic system. Supervisors have a weird number of different tasks that they need to get through, and supervision is only one of them, and that it may not be their strongest point. And so filling in those gaps with mentors, filling in the spaces where you need help, being open and communicative and being like, this is how you can support me, is so important in this relationship. And like everything, it's about communication. You need to not assume anything. If you're unsure, ask. If you need something, ask for it. If you need support in a very specific way, you need to make sure that they are aware that you need that. And if there's no action taken, you can escalate it. But going back to the very sort of first point is, academics come along quite often with ego, with kind of a drive that they expect other people to have, and that can come out as an aggressive kind of bullying personality, like, do work harder, get me the results, all of that stuff. But it is not acceptable. And I think universities are slowly coming around to the fact that that isn't acceptable. And it's a very tricky situation. But if you are in a terrible supervisor situation early on, you need to get out, or you need to escalate the issue to their supervisor, to the head of the school. And if you need to, there will be sort of human resources type department in your university that you can take your issues to there. Never worry about causing a scene seen. It's so important that you are not bullied, you're not threatened, there's no inappropriate behavior, and yeah, it's tough to escalate these things, but it's so important that it doesn't go without being challenged. Yes. If this video has been helpful, please remember to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, all of that stuff, because I love seeing it. It really motivates me and it helps other people see this video too. Remember to share it. All right, I shall see you in the next video.